Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Tuning into Channel BK. My name is Brian. That's Joshua Kirk. Um, 2026,
Yeah.
2020 freaking six. I've did my list. Josh has done his. You can go check those out. That's over though. We're in the new year,
Mhm.
and I think the beginning of this year has been interesting. I'm excited to talk about it because we are each going to be doing one solo album, and we actually have a shared album we want to discuss, which I know Josh is probably very excited to hear my opinions on. But yeah, we're gonna get right into it. I will tell Josh, I did change my single at the last second. It's still the same artist, but it is a
Yeah.
different single. So we'll get to that because Joshua's first. Josh, what is your first single?
Oh yeah. So my
Or I guess
single,
your only single. I said first. He's the first one. Anyways,
oh yeah. So yes, my single, I'm kind of teasing it, uh, at least in terms of the band I'm gonna talk about. And I got into them uh a couple of years ago, almost at this point when they came out with their first record, and now they're about to come out with their second, and I can kind of um sort of, for those watching who aren't in the know, I can kind of uh to say what kind of band they are. It is Lip Critic. The song is Legs in a Snare. Um so this is a band that I was introduced to um in 2024. I kind of found them on a whim. They were like this band that was recommended to me based on um some stuff I was already listening to at the time. So then I became curious and I listened to their first record, one of the albums behind me, Hex Dealer, and I really enjoyed it. It was in my top 50 albums for that year, and they have this very unique sound that mixes kind of, it's like brash hardcore punk with like these samples that have an otherworldly sound to them, and like they don't even use like guitars or synths, so like drums and samples are kind of what they do. So it's kind of like uh they're kind of like a Death Grips in that way. And then like the vocals have sort of this manic quality to them that fits with that style really well. And this is actually one of two singles they've come out with from this album. They just put out the other one, Jackpot, like a couple weeks ago. And I really like what I've heard so far, but I've just been kind of going back to this song more, and it seems from hearing these singles that this record will be kind of uh there'll be there's gonna be more like melodic nuance and catchiness to it, but then it's also gonna be like wilder and more chaotic than um their last record. And like this song is, because this song is like the lead sample is like da-da-da, da-da-da. It's like this doo-wop vocal sample that's kind of chopped in an interesting way over top of this beat, and then the vocals like uh are like have a vibe that like fits very well with it. And then in the second half it gets like just abrasive, and there are these drums that come in, and yeah, it's an odd mix of sounds, but I think they make it work very well. And yeah, they're like they're kind of one of my favorite sort of weirder kind of bands that I've like found in the last couple of years. And like, spoiler, like Like this single and all three of the albums are essentially a version of experimental music because that just seems to be like that's just a trend right now, and like all of these artists are like taking these like genres that we know and like giving them this like new unique sort of uh twist that like yeah is like it is like yeah it's like fresh for the time and yeah I think uh and Lip Critic are kind of doing that for punk rock, and I think uh doing it in a very interesting way.
It's so funny to me that like you said what you said about what we're talking about because the outlier in this video is my single. And I say that not as like a disrespectful thing to the band, but the band that I'm going to talk about is a band that isn't nearly as adventurous as all the artists that we're going to talk about and the one that Josh talked about, but it's still a band I like quite a bit. And I changed the single. Their first single came out a little bit ago, and then I saw that they had a new single, and on first listen, I immediately liked it a lot more, and it was a better tie-in to what I wanted to discuss about them. It's Bitter Fruit by Young the Giant. So Young the Giant is a band I've been listening to since high school, which is crazy to me. This is like the 16th year of albums from them. Their new album Victory Garden comes out in May, and their last album was the only time that I was able to really have a conversation with Josh about the group because we didn't really know each other before that. And then 2022 was when American Bollywood came out, and that was at that time where all the artists were doing that like post-COVID release where they were releasing chunks of their albums as EPs. I'm kind of glad we're over that personally.
Yes.
I wasn't a fan of that. I liked American Bollywood a lot. Again, Young the Giant is known for what Young the Giant does. Sometimes they do things a little more adventurous. Sometimes they're a little bit more mainstreamy and poppy. But I've always liked them. I think they've always sounded good. They got good grooves. Nothing about them, I think, is the most like they've made albums that are definitely adventurous. I think there is some interesting stuff on American Bollywood and Home of the Strange, which came out in 2016, which is my favorite album of theirs. Um, and if you haven't listened to it, check it out. I think that's definitely the most interesting album they put out. Their first single, Different Kind of Love, was very much okay. This is a Young the Giant song. And I was like, okay, this Bitter Fruit is a lot better. It's a lot more intense in your face. I love the guitars on it. Samir's vocals are great. There's kind of like a washed out sound on here that I think is really cool. This single to me was more like, okay, I'm hoping that there is a little bit more energy or intrigue from this song to the rest of the album. Different Kind of Love is fine. There's interesting structure they have to that song, but this song is a lot more just again, it's more direct, it's in your face. And it's definitely a more interesting like way to get into this album, which again, I'm hoping it's more like that. Young the Giant is not a group that I think they sit in kind of that indie pop rock sphere of I think you just either like them or don't. And, they've been kind of having a successful career ever since their debut album with those couple singles, My Body, Cough Syrup, kind of made them that sort of band. But they put out a lot of good work since then. And again, it's crazy to me to think they've been around for this long. It's like Jesus. So, but yes, the new Young the Giant single. So now that that's out of the way, we're gonna get into some weird albums now. So, speaking of waiting, because this has been 4 years now since the last Young the Giant album came out, this album's been one that I've been waiting on for 3 years now because we've been getting songs from them for the past 3 years and a lot of detours and this and that. It's by Storm. My Ghosts Go Ghosts. Obviously, if you know the group, I don't have to, none of this really matters, but I'll do it anyways. It's the pre-ramble. By Storm is Parker and Richie, formerly from Injury Reserve. Rest in peace, Groggs. Groggs obviously passed away. They wanted to retire that name. Ever since By the Time I Get to Phoenix, it seemed like that was kind of what they said they wanted to go towards more. And since 2023, we've been getting like very singular music videos, songs, the whole like spiel. It feels like every time they put out a single, it was an event. Richie obviously did his own solo album, which was definitely weird, but it was more hip hop. It had beats. It definitely felt like a more traditional hip hop album. It was just weird. But we finally got the full on by Storm album. And I was always interested in what this album was going to sound like because a lot of the songs definitely were an intro, Richie kind of doing a little thing. Then we got like a little rap part where the beat changes up, and then it's like a whole long ass outro. And I liked a lot of the songs that came out, and I'll wait till we get into the album. But I was like, is this going to sustain an album? Like, I don't know if this is going to be interesting to me. Now, thankfully, there's a lot of songs on the album that are not like that. The structure is a little bit more in your face and abrasive. I don't think it's a perfect album. Everyone's been going nuts for this album. I really like it. I definitely think there is room for growth because the thing about this album, whether you want to think it's good that it's like this or not, it you have to get like it asks a lot of you. Not because it's doing 70 million things, but because there's a lot of downtime. And you kind of have to embrace that. This album does not feel like a rap album where Parker's just doing the production. It feels like it's Richie's rapping or crooning or whatever, and Parker's making these beat like it's like it feels like pieces of music versus a beat. Like it feels like it is not just the backing track to these songs. Like it's literally Parker and Richie together. So whether or not like you are into that or not, it asks a lot of you and you kind of have to go with it. But let me tell you, when this album starts, when Can I Have You for myself, I went, okay, cool. That like it made me kind of relax a bit because I said this is such a perfect way to start this journey for this group. And I love the lyrical content. This is a song where I think the second half switch up works. It feels like a very completed song where sometimes some of these songs felt like maybe the outro was a little too much. I actually disagree here. I think the switch up is great. I think how Richie is playing with the beat is very interesting. The following track though, Dead Weight. Hot take, I don't really love this song. I like the topic of it. It's very much Richie's having a whole conversation about his hair. And obviously, I can't really speak to that because I'm not African American, but it is very obviously about the perception of his hair and all that goes into it. And I like the content. I don't really like the beat with him. It just doesn't work well for me. It's chaotic in a bad way. Like it's a little too like it just doesn't blend well. Grapefruit. This shit though is a banger. This is like what I was hoping for. It is, and I'm not saying I wanted straightforward songs. I just wanted to feel like not every song was going to have the same template. This song, the way the production is gorgeous and mysterious, and I think Richie sounds awesome on this. He's kind of going from rapping aggressively to then his kind of like his kind of crooning. He's doing great on the hook. I I was like, okay, and like the Parker put his ass into this beat. In my town, I like the song when it came out, brings the mood a little bit down. I like the topic on it. I think the outro works. A lot of these songs work well when you're listening to the album as a whole, because I think the experience kind of works a lot better. Zigzag, this is a song I talked about on the show. Love it. I think it's again fantastic. Um, Best interest. Another hot take. I actually think this is the worst song on the album. And this is not necessarily a critique that should be so strong. Every song on here, I feel like even if I don't like it, I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what it's meant to be. There's really nothing about this song that makes me remember it other than Billy Woods being on it. Like, which is crazy to me. Like that Billy what like I got excited. I said, "Whoa, that's a good collaboration." And then the song was very like I just it just kind of was in one ear out the other, which is really upsetting because that sounds awesome. Like that collaboration. It just didn't really work well for me, honestly. Double Trio 2 is on here. Double Trio 1 sadly isn't. I actually like that one more, but the more I listen to the album, I actually like Double Trio 2 a lot. I think my whole thing was I just loved the approach on Double Trio. I thought it, even though it was less chaotic and all over the place, it actually felt a little bit more focused to me where I was like, I was really into it. And I thought the outro was great. And I Dance is hypnotizing. And Richie, again, his kind of crooning on it, I think is really fun. Um, and then GGG, which is obviously Ghost Gone Ghost or Ghost Go Ghosts, which is beautiful. It's haunting. It's a haunting way to end the album. Um, I think this album is at least up there to where people say it's really good. I am with the people saying I don't think it's just whatever. I think it is really good. I see a lot that can be done. Like I see a lot of the inklings of what they can do. Like I said, for an album that's been so long in the waiting, um, I wasn't expecting a lot of what was happening. It's a very interesting journey because now the two of them have to re-identify themselves. Because by the time I get to Phoenix, was very consistent, it was focused, it was just weird and dark and heavy. This kind of lets a lot of you have to kind of let it take you on this journey, which again, I could see people saying that's kind of dumb. Like, okay, well, I want more rapping or more this. I get it. I think there's definitely moments on here where I'm like, do we have to always do this long outro thing? I think sometimes it would be more fascinating to see Richie kind of going like into these more like having these songs that are a little bit more like longer and more interesting. Because, like I said, the songs where they're more tight knit, I'm like, that's really cool. I get this group is being interesting and different, and I love that. I don't think it all has to be that way because when you get a song like Grapefruit, which to be honest, Grapefruit is weird. I don't hear a lot of stuff sounding like that, but it works. And it feels very singular in its, in its approach. Um, but again, I love Injury Reserve, and I'm glad that they're continuing on. And it's going to be interesting to see kind of the next like phase of that because it seems like a lot of these last 3 years were sort of them developing what this is. And I'm excited because I'm going to go see them at the end of May, so that'll be fun. Um, but yeah, I'm done rambling on. What were your thoughts on the album?
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely was impressed that I dug the album as much as I did, and yeah, I was messaging you. This really does feel like kind of this is sort of the next phase in kind of an evolution for underground abstract hip hop in terms of kind of the way it is produced in certain ways like that. And yeah, and the two songs you were kind of on, I actually really like those two songs more than you. Like I mean they're definitely like weird, but like but I don't know. It kind of worked for me. But like uh and then like Zigzag I think uh is I think uh even though it's really only the first song I heard from the album, like I think it's still probably my favorite just within the context of the album. And I think for kind of the odd mix of styles, that was definitely probably uh to me at least the best example of that pretty much. Now, like we kind of have two different perspectives here because it seems like you and many other people had never heard of them until like this album came out. But but I actually have a little more of a history with this band that I'll get into when I talk about this album. It's Mandy, Indiana. Like I feel like I have to say the name of the album this way. Erg,
Yeah.
like
Arrgh.
er, yeah, 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 erg.
It's missing
That's
an
the name of
exclamation point. It's all capitals, but there's
yeah.
no exclamation points. Like, come on.
Oh yeah. So this is a group that I was 2023 was when I was originally introduced to them. And that was when they had just released their first album, I've Seen a Way, which was this, yeah, it was this crazy experimental all over the place record. And like I didn't love it, but I did come away from it intrigued to see how they would develop from there. Um, and Late 2025, they announced this album and started releasing songs from it. And yeah, the wide variety of influences and styles the band pulls from is kind of like, I mean, there's clearly some industrial in there, a little bit of like experimental rock. Um, and and clearly they kind of are in this vein of bands that are kind of, yeah, like we're seeing groups like a model actress who are kind of
Hmm.
reinventing like club music for kind of for the time and making the kind of like it's not the kind of like dance music you listen to vibe, like you listen to it for like the catharsis, and there's kind of a, yeah, just like a schizophrenic uh energy to it. And uh this group does not really make the same kind of music, but these bands are kind of grouped together like in this lane. Um, and like this album is just like all over the place. Like the opener, just right out of the gate, is hitting you with these abrasive sounds, you know, with those synths and that beat, and there's like this like weird auto tune like spoken word on top of it, and you're just like, the fuck is this? But it's, and yet it still kind of works. And then Magazine, which is one of the big singles from this album, is one of those tracks that like doesn't even feel like just 3.5 minutes because it really has phases to it. Like it's kind of, it's like pulsating in parts, then like noisy and chaotic in others. And Valentine, that's the vocalist's name. Uh Her vocals kind of have a sound that like I think meshes really well with that. And I think even with this record being kind of uh just going in all these like crazy directions, like it really is, I think, her vocals and like the storytelling that keep the album keeps the album tight and cohesive. And like even with a lot of its lyrics being in French, I'm like able to pick up like themes and stuff like that that kind of just brings this whole album together. And then like, and like just the deeper you get into this album, uh you're you're just on this journey. Like A Brighter Tomorrow is like one of the like slower tracks that kind of helps break things up a little bit. It's haunting. It's gorgeous. I think it's definitely a, it's a nice little break to the album, although it's uh not like a calming moment. Like it's still like like the rest of the album just like gets under your skin. And then yeah, speaking of Billy Woods, he shows up on a track later on this record, Sicko, which is this really like strange track that it sounds like a demented version of like an LCD Sound System song because it has that kind of like beat to it and like all the like samples and Billy Woods like does his does his thing and I think um like you wouldn't think he would mesh super well with it, but yet he does. And yeah, I would say like out of the two like Billy Woods crossovers we're talking about today, that this is kind of like the better one in terms of like they're
Yeah.
both artists are really just like going for it on this track. And yeah, I and yeah, I was kind of the reason I bring up Model Actress is because I feel like they're a similar kind of group where um I kind of came away from that debut kind of like okay, that didn't really do a whole lot for me, but like I'm still like uh interested to hear how they progress from here. And then yeah, and because and then like second albums where I'm like, okay, now they've got me with this record. And yeah, I would say um even though I liked Mandy Indiana's debut a little bit more than that first Model Actress record, yeah, I kind of went into this album being like, yeah, I'm hoping that by the second album is where they'll like really like have me. And yeah, I would say that's pretty much what happened with me and this album. But yeah, but like I'm interested to hear more of your thoughts since for me this is somewhat a kind of a newer band that I knew and but you're just getting on the bandwagon now.
So I think my main takeaway from it is this was one of those albums that like a lot I feel like maybe this is not so new from like when we started the show because I feel like over the past, decade or so, we've gotten a lot of those kind of weirder albums and obviously dance music and kind of electronic stuff has been becoming a lot more it's the next phase, right? Like that's kind of the thing a lot of people are really experimenting with. And this was one of those instances where by the time I was done with it, all I thought was, "Yep, that's good." And I didn't really take away like for an album that was as short as it was, it definitely felt like it. I think there were times where it seemed like there could have been more. Like I don't think this is like one of those bizarre situations where so like your opinion on the Billy Woods, I obviously 1000% agree. I think that was a much better version of it. A lot of the earlier songs on here I was very much into. I was like, okay, it I guess I was expecting maybe it was going to be more like bigger, but then when I learned that it seemed a little bit more low key, I was like, okay, like that's fine with me. But by the end of it, it was my overall opinion on the album, unlike the joint album we're going to be talking about, because I have a lot of things to say about that. It was very nondescript. Like it just kind of was done, and I went, okay, that's cool. And like, I'll be honest, I think a lot of the Last Model Actress album definitely all kind of there were certain things that might have blended a little bit together, but there was something weird about their approach where it felt like I could still tell which song was which. Um, But I mean, overall, I thought it was generally fine. Now, if we're going to talk about an album that is very different and weird. It is very descriptive, whatever. I don't know. I don't understand English. Is an album from an artist that their last album I was really not hot on. And this album kind of just came about. I was like, oh, okay. And I finished it and I told Josh, I said, let me tell you, dude, okay, I'm with it now. I'm with it. And so what is said album?
Oh yeah, that is yeah, the album is called You by Underscores. Yeah, I guess because their name starts with the letter U, it's technically their self-titled
Subtitled?
record.
I didn't think
Eh,
about that.
oh
Like,
yeah, and also obviously like there's the whole like IOU like little like reference or sample throughout the album. And yeah, so obviously Brian and I are sharing this record, and I'm kind of, given that I have been historically a bigger fan of them, that it would only be fitting for me to leave this conversation. Um, so their last album, Wall Socket, was this like huge kind of concept album that had a lot going on and had sort of a like story set in a fictional small town, and pulled from all these different influences. And I was a huge fan of it. I really liked the uh, the whole narrative and like kind of the weird mix of styles going on that album. But I'll admit, I was a little bit nervous going into this album. So two of its like singles uh have been out since like 2025, and I'd only listened to like parts of them, but I was kind of hearing them, I was like, oh, this sounds like yet another like left turn uh from this artist, and like because she seems to be going further into kind of that dance music sound. Later on would proceed to produce a couple of songs on like the newest Danny Brown album as well, and uh do stuff like that. Uh and I kind of went into this like, okay, this should be interesting. And then day it comes out, I see your message and I'm like, well, if Brian of all people says that Underscore's record is a banger, well then it must be pretty awesome. And then next day I listened to this whole album for the first time and I went, mm-hmm, yep, I love it. Like I definitely and there's definitely a lot about this record that kind of, yeah, like this feels like a totally different kind of experiment. I mean first off, it's like concise and like way shorter than their first
it
record.
feels very personal too. Like there was a
Uh,
lot like so my opinion on her last record was maybe it's ignorant because my opinion on this is like you said, it's that kind of concise, straight to the point, whatever. It wasn't the fact that I hated it because it was like all over the place and I actually thought that was kind of interesting. That's why I was excited because you said it was like a conceptual kind of hyperpop album. I was
yeah,
like, oh, that's different. Like we're at that point now with hyperpop that's a thing. I just never like it just never got me. And I think I maybe went into it like and maybe now that if I go into it with a different mindset, maybe I'll appreciate it more. But that was sort of where I was coming from. And like I said, immediately on this album, the first thing I noticed was I was paying so much attention to what she was saying. There's a lot of very interesting things that she is discussing here. And I was like, I was very thrown off. I was like, oh my God, like she was really talking about a lot of stuff here. And it was very interesting because, like, it feels this is maybe a stupid white boy take. It really feels like what everybody freaked out about Brat for. You know? Like it's that the honesty and the bluntness of what some of these lyrics were, but just made with banger production and she's
yeah,
really good on it. And again, like
yes,
there's like parts here where it feels like the way she starts the album is banger after banger, and you're just kind of like, oh, and she's using weird sounds and a lot of the beats on like I think the opening beat on Tell Me You Want It, I was like, oh, this is like very interesting. And then the run of like Innuendo, I Get You, Love Field, I'm like Love Field especially, I was like, wow, like this track is beautiful. Like I
Yeah.
loved how minimal it was and just a little boom 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 boom. Like it was like, oh my God. Like I legit was like, okay, cool. And like maybe it is that length. Maybe it is like you said, you were saying how much more upfront it is and how much more concise, whatever. But clearly she did something ambitious and bold. And yeah, she went off and did a couple other things. But this album, I'm listening to it and I'm like, it feels raw and it feels very honest and just here it
Mhm.
is. And I think you get that from the lyrics and the production. And that's why I enjoyed it a lot, for sure.
Oh yeah, like it's definitely like yeah, it's very unique in terms of its sound palette and uh like even though it's not really like doing like a million things, like it's
Mhm.
still very eclectic in its influences, and like there's at least two songs I want to bring up that I've been listening to heavily from this record. Like there's the piece, which is kind of like this minimal sample, and like but the way that it is like produced and layered to create like that melody, and then like her storytelling on top of it is um like the way she writes songs is like very smart and emotional, and yeah, uh and like the way, yeah, it just layers that sound, and he's like, I just want to keep the peace with you, like, yeah, like just a great little earworm. And then but let me tell you, a song that will not leave my head, like, and I have been listening to it for like a couple of weeks now. I get a body feeling I don't tell you about. I get a body feeling I keep dancing around. Like all this song, like I mean, it's so smooth. I love kind of the funkiness to it, and yeah, like uh vocals and storytelling over the top of this beat, and then and then there's kind of that pop punk type drop at the end, like that I would have never thought this would work. And yes, it does. And yet it does. And yeah, obviously, um yeah, some of the like bangers early on are really good. And then like Wish You Well, I think is like the perfect outro to this album. Some of the lyrical themes kind of come to a head, and like this is probably this is probably the most eclectic song in terms of kind of just the mix of I mean there's like kind of those like like it's singer-songwriter, but it's a club banger. It's kind of uh poppy. It's like this really like dense piece of electronic, and yeah, it's like um yeah, the fact that this album is like, yeah, it's a lot more concise than its predecessor, but it's still kind of but it's still doing a lot. I think
And it's not even
uh
a long album. That's
yes.
another thing. Like, you listen to like Black Country New Road or something, and their albums are like close to an hour, and you feel like it's close to an hour. You kind of get done,
Yeah.
and you're like, yep, that feels like a lot. This album rides that wave of it feels like so much is happening, but it's not chaotic. But it
Yeah.
also feels like by the end of the journey, you're not like, oh my God, I thought, like, you're more like, wow, I thought that was like an hour. It's not that long. but like it's done in a way where because it's so like you said, it goes through these templates that don't like it doesn't feel like it's not like every song is so different. It's all like within the same kind of sound, but she's using that to kind of make an album that again is very like emotional, but also fun, but also like I was very stunned because my hyperpop like taste, like I love 100 gex and 100 gex is who they are. And they obviously do a lot of other weird stuff, but Underscore
Yeah.
is definitely in a realm where it's like this is very specifically what she wants to do.
Yep.
And this album is such a beautiful way of like making that like sound so I don't want to say like mainstream, but like this album has a lot of pop appeal to it. Like
Yeah.
this could be slapped on something and
Oh
like
man.
it. And it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And there's like a lot of like she clearly uh is like, loves that using that auto tune. That's for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad like the thing about maybe now that I know who she is and maybe this is a good album for me to get an idea of who she is. Maybe the last album, maybe it'll be good. I know she put out like a director's cut where there's like new songs or something on it, right?
Oh yeah. I've listened to it and like yeah, even though I do love Wall Socket a lot more than you, hot take, I really only liked like one of the bonus tracks
Okay.
on that deluxe version. That would be um My Guy, Corporate Shuffle, and like I remember when that song came out as a single at the time and me listening to it a little bit and really liking it. I even almost considered it as a single maybe, but like the other few songs like on the project, that was kind of where I was like, oh, maybe this is what Brian thought kind of the whole record was. That was kind of my whole thing with, you know, I mean where it I got what it was trying to do and it wasn't like boring. It just like didn't really click with me. And and then yeah, going into this album like album I was like very interested to see how we go and like the two songs that she like did on the Danny Brown album like Copycats, that that one is low-key a banger right
Hmm.
there, and that song was on like my favorite songs for that year. And and yeah, I was kind of um but yeah, and I think even though I really liked her last record, I have a feeling that I'm probably gonna go back to this album more in the future. I mean, not just in terms of like how it's a little more like just short and just like upfront, like you said. But also I feel like I'm just at this moment in time, I'm kind of connecting with this album a little more like emotionally too.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's kind of yeah. So far it's my favorite album of the year and yeah, I think it's yeah, the fact that we both ended up really loving it, I think is I think it's awesome for sure.
She does something that I see a lot in like Porter Robinson, where it's like he kind of uses those sound. Obviously, they're not like exactly the same, but like Porter Robinson kind of does that, especially on his last album, where his last album is very emotional, and there's like a lot of stuff that he kind of dives into, and it's like you can use this music and have it be something like that, but also still do what you're doing well and like make good. Because like it's not like every song on here is like really emotional or sappy or anything. Like there, like you said, the opening is there's bangers and like, but then she breaks it down and there's so many other things going on here, and it's like I just I honestly I'm with you. I think this probably is my favorite album of the year so far too, just because I'm like it's just awesome to me that you could do something with this sound, but it's not 100% hyperpop. Like she's doing other kind of poppier stuff and like you were saying how she's kind of diving into other things and like she's writing like some really good songs. Like that was what
Yes.
impressed me the most. I was like, "Oh my God, like there's some fantastic
Oh
writing."
yeah, and you were probably like, wow, like this is what like my guy Josh like has like thought about her probably for from the get-go pretty much.
I really do need to go back to her last album because maybe now with this in mind, there's maybe a different perception I have on her. Um, but I think this album is just bar none, just fantastic. And it's again, it is like a lot of these things we've talked about, it's definitely in your face and it is what it is, and it does so many interesting, weird things. Um, but that's just our takes. Do you
Yes.
agree? You could say that that's not your favorite album of the year. It's okay. Leave it all in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out Joshua's stuff. He's been putting up constant things. He has, like I said, he has his list. I have my list. Didn't you say you did like an underscores review?
Oh yeah, I wrote just a short little like mini review of that album that you can find like it's on the homepage of my website at the time of this coming out.
Yes. So check that out as well. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year for sure. It has not started as crazy as I thought, and it definitely
Yeah.
has been there. It's simmering. It's simmering.
Yep.
There's definitely stuff we know that's coming out, and then there's other things that we're kind of like waiting on to see. But so far, it's been a decent year. It's been a decent
Yes.
year. So I think you all should check out a lot of these albums, and there's been a plenty of other ones that have come out so far this beginning of the year. Um, but yeah, so we're gonna see you all in end of June. And until then, I guess thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in to Channel BK. I'm Brian. This is Josh. Peace out, everybody.